We're following breaking news tonight. A man shot in the face outside of Lexington Market. A Baltimore County woman relives a terrifying ordeal in a story you're seeing first on Fox. We sit down with a woman held captive in an hours-long standoff. Nick Mosby taking the stand once again in the federal trial against his ex-wife. Why he says he lied to reporters about his financial situation.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 6.
Well, Baltimore police confirming a man was shot in the face just outside of Lexington Market today. You're taking a look at the scene earlier this afternoon where several streets were shut down for a couple hours. Police were able to apprehend 2 people of interest who ran from the scene. We're told the 29-year-old victim is expected to be okay.
You could barely walk. You'd lost a lot of blood. When you finally made it out, how did you feel at that exact moment?
I just kept thinking he's going to come out behind me.
A Baltimore County woman reliving a terrifying ordeal after an hours-long standoff. Thank you for staying with us. I'm Mary Bubala. That woman sat down with Fox 45's Vincent Hill in a story you're seeing first on Fox.
Erica Hart spent almost 24 hours planning her escape from a man she says was dealing with deep issues and even deeper secrets.
Boy, Sterling ain't do that.
The agonizing pain of a female, live streamed on Instagram. Now Erica Hart, sitting down with Fox 45 to share her story of survival.
One of the stab wounds on my neck was right here. I had got stabbed right here, and then I busted my lip on the steps right here. And then 2 of the stab wounds were over here.
The man responsible,
The next day after he came home.
31-year-old Antonio Hart.
That was the Antonio I knew. He was telling me, like, how we were gonna go. He was like, should we drive off a cliff? Should I have you tied to me?
During an hours-long standoff, Erica was stabbed 11 times.
You said I'm blue?
That's why I'm trying to keep you warm.
I couldn't move. I couldn't move my legs. I couldn't feel this at all. My back was soaking wet.
So you weren't able to walk at this point?
I
You were
couldn't
just
do
on the
nothing.
floor.
He knew I couldn't walk.
While you're laying there, though, what's running through your head?
I kept telling myself I have to control my bleeding because I'm not dying and leaving the kids behind.
Where'd you get up?
I need arms.
But Erica says the man who stabbed her wasn't the man she knew.
So let's talk about mental health. You said there's 2 people you knew, Antonio Hart and Rambo. What's the difference?
Antonio Hart is a very loving person. He is the most loyal person you could ever meet.
Who was Rambo?
Rambo was evil.
Get the hostage negotiator here right now.
Rambo was angry.
Yeah, Rambo. I'm going out with a bang.
I think for black men, they're very stubborn with their mental health.
One thing weighing heavy on his mind, she says.
I need some confessions to do about murders and all that before I die. You hear me?
Confessing to several murders, including a 2010 murder Sterling Matthews is serving a 115-year sentence for.
Not a day goes past he didn't talk about Sterling.
I feel bad. It hurt me to my heart. Sterling Matthews doing a life sentence behind the dog.
It wasn't until we were sitting in the house that he was confessing to me about it. And it was him. He had the Hellraiser mask. And it was just at that time there was like a no snitch rule, and Sterling, he held his loyalty and took that charge.
The one thing that kept Erica going.
What kept you alive?
Mason, that kid he's so tough, so strong for a 6-year-old. He's so brave. I knew I would break him.
Hart confessed to killing 6 people before dying in that standoff. Baltimore County Police say they are investigating those claims. Vincent Hill, Fox 45 News.
As Vincent mentioned, 30-year-old Sterling Matthews is serving a 115-year sentence for the 2010 Halloween murder of then 16-year-old Daquan Burks. Matthews was 17 at the time and has always maintained his innocence. Only on Fox 45, he shares his side of the story.
Did you shoot and kill Daquan Burks?
No, not at all. I had nothing to do with it. Never. Always told people I was innocent. Had nothing to do with it. Wasn't even there. They wouldn't do what they supposed to do as far as it's like thorough investigation.
Matthews is scheduled for a post-conviction hearing in March. For more on Sterling Matthews, including his mother's alibi for him the night of the murder, head to foxbaltimore.com. The federal trial of former Baltimore City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby continues. Baltimore City Council President Nick Mosby back on the witness stand today in the federal mortgage fraud trial against his ex-wife. While on the stand today, Nick Mosby admitted to lying to reporters about a tax lien on his home. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost explains.
Walking into the federal courthouse in Greenbelt Monday morning.
I feel great.
Do you anticipate another long day?
I'm not sure.
City Council President Nick Mosby reserving his comments for the stand, where under oath taking responsibility for the couple's ballooning tax debt. From the beginning, Marilyn Mosby's defense has been she did not know about the couple's $45,000 tax lien on her home in Baltimore before she bought the 2 vacation homes in Florida. Nick Mosby telling the jury he hid the tax troubles from his wife. These photos of garbage bags, canvas bags, piles, all unopened mail shown to the jury indicate the disorganized mail in the Mosby's home. Taken this year, Nick Mosby says the images are an accurate depiction. An IRS agent testifying that the agency sent the Mosbys as many as 40 letters notifying them of the tax debt and eventual lien. After Marilyn Mosby was first indicted in January of 2022, her legal team scoffed at our questions about the mail.
So you're saying that she didn't open the mail?
It appears that answer is yes. Now the defense argues Marilyn Mosby trusted her husband to take care of the tax problems, especially since Nick says he was the one who handled the couple's tax filings. Nick also admitting to keeping his deep financial trouble a secret. Monday, Nick was asked specifically about this news conference in November of 2020.
Your tax issue's been resolved.
Yes, thank you.
Held outside City Hall when he was asked about the tax lien, then telling the city,
I said that it would be done in the coming days, and I've been able to settle that.
The city council president now telling the jury he lied because he did not want his wife to find out.
You're admitting to having a credibility issue, and you can't have it both ways.
Jeremy Eldridge is an attorney not affiliated with this case, but says Nick Mosby's testimony will make it hard for a jury to believe what he's saying.
And once you admit to having a serious credibility issue in court, it's very difficult to then say, well, I lied then, but I had a good reason for it.
But Nick's time under oath doesn't stop there. Monday, prosecutors allege the city council president repeatedly committed perjury on tax forms. Nick's financial woes date back almost a decade, where from 2014 to 2018, wages were garnished to pay off his student loan debt. His car got repossessed twice, and he fell behind on mortgage payments. Prosecutors also claim in the same years, Nick Mosby wrote off charitable donations. More information about Nick's previous tax filings are expected to come later. Monday afternoon, Nick Mosby finally excused as Marilyn Mosby's mortgage fraud trial continues into the 3rd week. In Baltimore, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Marilyn Mosby is accused of lying when she bought 2 vacation homes in Florida. Prosecutors say she failed to disclose the tax lien, lied when she said she would not rent out the Kissimmee property, and lied when she claimed to use one of the homes as a primary residence. The trial is expected to resume tomorrow morning. Today, Governor Wes Moore announced the Enough Act, part of his agenda this legislative session to target poverty in communities across Maryland. If legislation passes, $15 million will go towards communities experiencing poverty, providing resources and services to help break the cycle of poverty. It requires community leaders to submit proposals targeting the specific needs of those communities. Fox 45 News questioned the governor about how he plans to fund the bill.
You said this was going to be a mix of public and private funding. Who exactly is footing the bill for this?
So we'll have certain capital that's coming from the state, and you see in our proposed budget we have capital allocated for it. But part of the beauty of the Enough Act is it will involve the philanthropic community. That is not just going to be about state capital and deploying state capital in places that we think are best, but really working with the community, hearing from the community, and then utilizing public, private, and philanthropic capital to be able to make those impacts.
Critics argue given Maryland is facing a budget deficit, the governor should be more focused on cutting spending instead of adding more. Fox 45 News also asked the governor's office how many communities will be selected for the program and how much money they could receive. We're still waiting to hear back. There will be a House hearing on the legislation sometime next month. And Mackenzie Frost will be in Annapolis following every step of this year's legislative session over the next 2 months. Keep up with our coverage on air and online at foxbaltimore.com. Maryland Transportation Authority police are searching for a vehicle involved in Saturday's 43-car crash on the Bay Bridge. 13 people were hurt in that crash, 2 of them seriously. Investigators are now searching for a blue 2018 Honda Civic they believe was driving at high speeds and recklessly and could have contributed to the crash. They believe the car was traveling on US 50 westbound on the Bay Bridge between 7:30 and 7:45 on Saturday. Anybody with information is urged to call MDTA police at the number right there on your screen.
Janae Bowens here in Washington with a look at why President Biden is losing support from black voters.
And we are looking at a pretty quiet end to January, but I am tracking one little week weather maker this week. I've got an updated look at exactly what that means for us in the week ahead in just a couple of minutes.
Fox 45 News, winner of 16 2022 Regional Emmy Awards, more than all other Baltimore news stations combined.
President Joe Biden spent the weekend in South Carolina courting black voters. New polls show the president is losing support from this key Democratic voting bloc. Sinclair national correspondent Janae Bowens explains the shift.
In light of signs of waning support, President Joe Biden spent the weekend in South Carolina with black voters, touting why he says he's the better pick over the presumptive Republican presidential nominee, Donald Trump.
Love thy neighbor as thyself. It's an idea that we can't abandon, and some want to see it abandoned.
In a December AP Norc poll, 50% of black adults said they approve of Biden. That's down from 86% in July 2021.
Polls are a snapshot of the time, but they've never defined the time.
Democratic strategist Antoine Seawright says the majority of black voters will vote for the president in November, but he admits their votes can't be taken for granted.
We have to demonstrate that we're willing to fight a little harder and fight a little more. We cannot let the other side define the narrative that they are the ones who are fighting.
The Biden campaign is reportedly working on a fundraiser with the first black president Barack Obama and former President Bill Clinton, who was extremely popular among black voters. Meanwhile, former President Trump sees an opportunity with the black community.
Have you seen our poll numbers with African Americans and with Hispanic Americans? There is much more enthusiasm now than there was even in 2020 or 2016.
Recent polling shows anywhere from 12 to 17% of black voters supporting Trump. That would be a jump from 2020, where AP's VoteCast showed Trump received only 8% of the black vote compared to Biden's 91%.
I don't think that we can underestimate how important it is for any Democratic presidential candidate to get upwards of 90 or better % of the black vote. Any shift in that, it is over for Democrats.
Now, Mary, Republican and Democratic strategists say Biden and Trump have their work cut out for them to get the support of black voters. Now, they agreed it largely comes down to showing up in the black community and communicating why their agenda is better than their opponents.
Yeah, that makes sense. But Janae, is the Trump campaign doing anything specifically to win over more black voters?
Well, reports point to Senator Tim Scott. Now, he's the most powerful black Republican in the country and is seen as being a key Trump surrogate to the black community. Now, Scott formally endorsed Trump days ago, and he's been appearing at rallies and doing interviews for the former president ever since. Now, there's also speculation that he could be Trump's pick for vice president. Mary?
Very much so. All right, Janae Bowens live in D.C. for us tonight. Thanks so much. Well, the Oklahoma GOP has censured Republican Senator James Lankford for helping negotiate bipartisan border bill provisions. According to the party's resolution, the Oklahoma Republican put the safety and security of Americans at risk. This as former President Trump slams the bill. Lankford says the opposition is based on false rumors. He argues the security enhancements would benefit a Trump White House.
Even while he was president, he was specifically asking Congress to change the standard on asylum, to be able to tighten up, to be able to give him additional funds for deportation. All of those things are in this bill. So if he were to be president, this would be new authorities that he had actually asked for when he was president before.
The bill could be ready for the Senate floor within days. Trump is pressing Senate Republicans to kill it, with the immigration crisis at the center of the campaign.
Now we are tracking our next weather maker. It's not a strong one, but it is this little system up to the north here. That's what's going to be tracking our direction over the next couple of days. Right now, while we wait on that, things look nice and quiet. A nice zoomed in view of Maryland here on the weather map shows nothing at all falling. So no rain, no snow, at least for the next 2 days. Today is quiet. Tomorrow starts off pretty quiet too, with some sun to begin. We see clouds filter in during the afternoon and early evening hours. And here's that next system. If you watch the path it takes, most of the moisture with it stays well to our west and to our south. That means not much of an impact for us here. Nothing too crazy. I think at most a rain and isolated snow shower early Wednesday morning. The remainder of your Wednesday looks pretty cloudy, but after that, I'm actually tracking a much needed warming trend. Today's kind of chilly. It was chilly and breezy out there. A blustery start to a brand new week. We're still dealing with that northwesterly wind now at 14 miles an hour and temperatures falling through the low 40s this evening. Temperatures will continue to drop overnight, and that sends us into a pretty chilly day tomorrow. Increasing clouds with highs in the low 40s. We're back in the mid 40s on Wednesday with that brief chance for a sprinkle or a flurry during the morning. We'll welcome back some sunshine by Thursday, along with some milder temperatures. Much more comfortable to get back outside on Thursday, with highs returning to the low 50s. And that's the start of a brief little warm up. If we take a look at our temperature trend this week, we spend the first half of it in the 40s, the end of it in the 50s. But for the weekend, we are tracking another dip in temperatures. A dry cold front's going to come through. That means not producing any rain or snow, but it will have an impact on our temperatures. So if you're planning ahead for the first weekend of February and planning something outside, plan on having all the winter gear ready to go. We've got sunshine ahead of us both days, but temperatures will be on the chilly side, with high temperatures actually right around where they should be for this time of year and in the mid-40s. Now, this chill isn't going to last too long, so in just a couple of minutes, we're going to take a look ahead at what to expect for the first full week of February, and we're going to break down your full 10-day forecast for you day by day.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Several inches of fresh powder fell overnight in Maine, one of the few places to see snow today. Only half an inch fell in Rochester, New York on Sunday, but that means there was measurable snow 7 out of the 8 weekend days in January. And at Letchworth State Park, just 35 miles to the south of Rochester, all the melting snow means there's plenty of water coming over the falls.
For more content like this, like the National Weather Desk on Facebook.
As excitement builds for Super Bowl 58, how one state's National Guard is preparing to keep fans safe. All eyes are now on the Super Bowl, and there's a lot that goes into making sure people who attend the game are safe. That's where a team from the Utah National Guard comes into play. Brian Cheney from our Sinclair sister station in Salt Lake City explains.
The Super Bowl draws thousands of fans from all over. To put on the event safely, the focus is much bigger than the two teams meeting on Super Bowl Sunday.
Have you been requested for a Super Bowl before?
We have. We worked the Super Bowl last year in Phoenix.
What is that experience like for you and your team?
It's pretty incredible. It's pretty challenging as well. There's a lot of moving pieces. In the case of the Phoenix Super Bowl, we had 6 civil support teams there.
With the Super Bowl in Las Vegas, Nevada, the Utah National Guard's 85th Civil Support Team will be on hand once again.
Is it flattering to get this request?
Yeah, it is. It's very flattering. Typically, these big events, they want the best and most competent teams.
The Civil Support Team assists with public safety issues related to weapons of mass destruction, terrorism, or any toxic material.
We have
multiple different varieties of detection equipment for radiation that we take on scene with us.
Sergeant First Class Christopher Peterson is one of those on the team who worked last year's Super Bowl and will be in Vegas this year.
We go looking for all hazards, so we have monitoring equipment for gases that we can set out as stationary devices and monitor from a distance.
They're watching, scanning, and surveying.
Our section is the guys that get in hazmat suit, and we actually go downrange. We're the ones that take the equipment. We get our readings. We find anything we can that's pertinent to the event or the incident that we're dealing with on scene.
And on scene doesn't just mean where the game will be played.
When we're covering those events, the area of concern is far beyond just the stadium. Doing sweeps of the events to make sure that they're safe before the public goes in there, and then also providing just standby support and continuous monitoring of the area.
Like the pros on the field, they train constantly for when they get the call to serve locally or for a major event.
The 2023 Super Bowl was actually a very quiet event for us. Nothing major happened, so we're grateful for that.
What are you expecting in Las Vegas?
Hopefully the same.
Covering Super Bowl 58, I'm Brian Schnee.
Now let's take a look ahead at that full 10-day forecast. We're kind of quiet over the next 10 days. We've got 1 week weather maker coming through on Wednesday, producing a brief rain and snow shower. After that, we're actually going to warm up for the end of the week. So as we kick off February, not going to feel like it. Highs briefly in the low 50s. Over the weekend, that winter chill is back, makes a speedy return for a Saturday and Sunday with sunshine both days and highs settling back into the mid-40s. That's where we're going to stay through much of next week. No real big weather makers in sight. No real big rain or snow chances, at least for the next 10 days. Mary?
Thank you. Well, finally tonight, the FBI says a centuries-old painting has finally been returned to its rightful owner. The painting is titled The School Mistress and dates back to around 1784. According to court documents from a 1975 trial, the painting was stolen by mobsters from the home of Dr. Earl Leroy Wood in 1969. It later turned up during the sale of a convicted mobster's home in 1989, but no one knew about its significance at the time. Then in 2021, an appraiser helped uncover the real history of the painting. The painting was finally returned to the Wood family earlier this month. Well, that's all for Fox 45 News at 6. Family Feud's up next. We'll see you back here for the news at 10 tonight. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night.